there was something about life that was totally precious, and that I could come into contact with that preciousness, and it would somehow take me over, and then I would be living as that preciousness. And to me, what that meant in terms of the way I would act and everyone else would act if this were the case is that there would just be a tender warm-heartedness in me and in everyone, and that interactions would be easeful, and that the mind would be filled with the clear light of wisdom in all activities within myself and among everyone. And I was absolutely certain that this was the case from the time I was born. And I think we're all like that. We all long for that and know that that's what's true about life, no matter how many other belief systems we may accept or take on during our life. Well, I've found that what I thought to be true is true. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely what is true about every single person. That every moment of life has this heartbeat of warm-heartedness that is the essence of it. And it doesn't matter what the appearance looks like. Every appearance has the same warm-hearted tenderness as its essence. Whether it's negative or positive, whether it's spiritual or non-spiritual, whether it's a flaming emotion or an exalted, blissful one, all of them, no matter what they are appearances of the same basis. And this basis is completely easeful, warm-hearted tenderness and the clear light of wisdom in every single moment, no matter what appears. With that context in place, then everything I'll say today is within that context. The Great Freedom Teaching is a worldwide community where we support each other in the permanent realization of what I'm talking about. So just this easeful, relational, totally open, global human family that is imbued with tenderness towards each other and acts from the clear light of wisdom. Now that sounds easy, doesn't it? It sounds like, well, what else would we be doing here? What else would we be doing here? Now, how can we know that about ourselves? That's really what we all want to know. How can we really know this about ourselves? And the only way we can know it about ourselves is just to completely relax, no matter what appears. Completely relax and just allow everything to be as it is. To rest completely without describing anything in what appears. To rest completely without the need to seek anything in what appears. In other words, to seek either the positive or the negative. To just simply let everything be as it is, with no need to attribute good and bad, right and wrong, acceptance and rejection to everything that appears. And when we rest repeatedly in a totally uncontrived way, which means just to allow the natural ease of being, of body and mind to be present in all circumstances. When we allow that to be the case for short moments, repeated many times, it becomes automatic. What we already are has to be easy, right? It has to be easy. We already are it. So how could it be some gargantuan, monumental effort that we would have to work for decades in order to see? What we already are, and it's guaranteed in the perfect ease of our own being. We don't need to attribute right and wrong, good and bad, acceptance and rejection to all the different labels that are included in the dictionary in order to know what's going on. That's not where wisdom lies. Wisdom does not lie. The clear light of wisdom does not shine forth from the dictionary. All these labels we've learned, what are they labels of? Well, they're labels of whatever they describe. But whatever is described has two aspects. It has the description, which is the vivid appearance, and it has its truly empty, spacious nature. So unless we know these two aspects of all appearances, it'll be impossible to be at ease. We'll constantly be plummeting for the next description to try to decide who we take ourselves to be. But when we just allow the ease of our being to be the case, then all these things that seem so difficult begin to shine with the light of tenderness and wisdom. And in the relaxation of our own being, we find perfect loving kindness and compassion for ourselves and what we've put ourselves through describing everything and looking at everything in terms of good and bad, right and wrong. And when that warmth of compassion and loving kindness for ourselves appears, we automatically see that what is so for us is so for everyone. So then we're no longer so hard on ourselves, and we're not hard on other people either. We see that nothing needs to change. Whatever the appearance is, it's an appearance of wisdom. Forever stainless, flawless wisdom is forever stainless, flawless wisdom, no matter what its appearance is. We can't know that by continuing to describe. The wisdom that is entirely beyond words and concepts, entirely beyond time and space, beyond causality, all these things that we have adopted as belief systems, that wisdom is so penetrating that it can clear up everything all at once within ourselves and in our relationships with other people, as well as for us as a species. So you see, what is good for us is good for everyone. If we're trying to examine and sort out our relationships based on all the belief systems we've learned, like psychology, and okay, as an example, we're going to decide about our relationship with our parents, and we're going to look at it through the filter of psychology. So that's how we're going to come to understand the true nature of our relationship with our parents. So we start to fiddle around with all these points of view that are appearing within the clear light of wisdom. And we pick up some points of view from one self-help book, then we pick up some points of view from another self-help book, and maybe we hear a video or watch a video and hear a CD, download an MP3, look up some things on the internet, and pretty soon we are sure we know why we're the way we are. We're feeling abandoned and at a loss all the time and afraid of relationships because of some fundamental error our parents made. That this is very popular today. And so we say, oh, you know, it's because the caregivers, they did this, and then they did that, and then they did the other thing, and, well, I ended up like this. Or maybe we might even look at other things like the church we went to or the religion we belonged to, the temple, the synagogue, whatever it was. And once we start to make the parents wrong, then pretty soon we're making everybody wrong. We're making the religions wrong, and we're making the government wrong, and we're making our significant other wrong. And so you see, it all starts in here, we look at ourselves as flawed and somehow needing to be fixed, and then we see everything as flawed and needing to be fixed. We see ourselves as needing to change, then we see others as needing to change. We see everything needing to change, so we start to make changes in order to get something happening. You know, we talk to our parents and we say, well, you know, you did this, and when you did that, this has led to my life of woe. Take responsibility for it, and then everything's going to be okay between us. We'll know real love. And has anyone ever done that or thought in those ways about their parents? Well, you know, it really doesn't lead anywhere. There was anxiety there to begin with, and then after this conversation, there's really a lot of anxiety. Or, you know, we may repeat this pattern in relationships. We can't resolve what's within ourselves, and we're continually looking at ourselves as flawed and needing to be fixed. And so when we get into a relationship, at first, there's this big blast of love, and we're sure everything's going to be perfect from that moment onward. And we're sure the other person is the one who's responsible for that big blast of open love. But then after a while, they start to just look like another person. The big blast of love is gone. So what do? Well, we blame them. They're the ones who are responsible for the disappearance of the big blast of love. So you see, this is kind of epidemic, isn't it? And it's, when we look at it in such a clear way, it becomes humorous. When we're lost in it, it's not humorous at all. You know, we may even be ready to boom or take some pills to end it all or whatever, because it can get pretty bleak when we're looking at things in that way. And we end up in an endless cycle of wanting to change everything, wanting to change our thoughts, wanting to change our emotions, wanting to change our experiences in order to make everything better. We're always looking at our thoughts like a machine. We're like a machine looking at our thoughts. Which ones are good? Which ones are bad? Which emotions are good? Which emotions are bad? How can I get more good thoughts? How can I get more good emotions? And then that all ends up in how can I get better experiences? So how can I exchange the current crummy experiences I have for some good ones? And you know that we've never seen it permeate our relationships with people more than it does today. On the romantic front, we see this everywhere. One partner after another, always looking for that perfect partner. If only I change my circumstances, then everything will be okay. No. I tried all these things. And fortunately, I was dashed to the ground of bitter despair 25 years ago. Well, actually earlier than that, about 6 years before that, I was dashed to the ground of bitter despair, and I hung out there for a few years. Then when it got so hopeless that I was swinging on the gates of insanity or death, then I suddenly saw that everything, no matter what it is, all this categorizing of everything I'd done as good or bad, positive or negative, right or wrong, something to accept or something to reject, constantly trying to make changes within myself, and I was really good at trying to force change in others too. But none of it led anywhere. You know, it led to me being totally miserable and desperate. That's where it led. And in that total hopelessness and powerlessness, I realized suddenly that all of these appearances, no matter what they were, had the same underlying basis. No matter what the appearance is, it has the same underlying basis. And that underlying basis is the completely wide open, spacious, tender-heartedness and clear light of wisdom that is the essence of everything, no matter what it is. And we can only know that when we relax. So when I realized that repeatedly, I relaxed as that essence. just the complete relief of that without any need to call it anything. And as I did so, it became more obvious in everything, what seemed positive and what seemed negative. And as I did so, I felt better. I had always tried to be kind, but I could never really arrive at that point of being fully kind. The more I just allowed the ease of absolute being to be as it is, the kinder I felt towards myself and automatically towards others as well. And so we all need this. We all really need this. We can never get enough of it. It's not like we're going to arrive somewhere, we're going to be wise and tender-hearted, and then it's some kind of fixed thing from then on. It intensifies. As long as we live, there's just more and more intensification of the sublime reality of what we really are. More and more intensification of that with no need to call it anything. This is what we all want. We want this in ourselves. We want our relationships to be based on this. And more than ever, we want this for our global human family. We all want to be like this. There's a great urge to freedom in everyone. No matter what we're thinking or emoting or experiencing, and even the need to try to make all these changes, what is that? It's all the urge to freedom. That's what we're looking for. We have this great urgency within everything that we think, feel, and do that is the urge to freedom, the urge to absolute freedom. So that's always what we're looking for. But unless we know how to truly relax, we'll never have more than a few fleeting moments of that in our lives. Everything within the vast expanse of all that is completely at ease. No matter what it is, it comes from ease and it returns to ease. And the coming and going are complete ease too. When we relax, we enjoy that natural order of everything that is identical with who we are. What could be easier? Now, isn't this something everyone can do? It doesn't matter what color your skin is, what gender you are, whether you're smart or not, whether you have a lot of emotions or none, whether you have a lot of thoughts or none. Whoever you are as a human being, it's possible to enjoy the complete ease of being in all circumstances. Whether you're starving or not, whether you're working or not, whether you have a lover or not, whether you are having sex or not, whatever it is, it's completely available and accessible to everyone equally. But doesn't it make sense that this would be true about our true nature? That makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense that our true nature, that already is, would be very easy. And it is, it's very easy. This teaching of the Great Freedom Teaching to rest for short moments repeated many times until it becomes automatic is one of the oldest teachings known to humankind. It's at least 17,000 years old. That's what's known about it, but it's probably even older than that. And where did it originate? It originated in this part of the world, in India, and what's now called India. But at one time, what's now called India was a vast civilization, and it stretched all the way from the Himalayas to the Mediterranean Sea. And a very ancient culture and a very advanced culture. And this was the most popular of all practices among people, to rest imperturbably, no matter what appears, until that rest, that ease of being is automatic in all circumstances. And it's in that wisdom is born. The already present wisdom is born. Wisdom isn't born between the pages of a philosophy book. It's born in the circumstantial appearances of our own being, our own thoughts, our own emotions, our own experiences. Not a single thing needs to change about those thoughts, emotions, and experiences. They're already originally pure. From stainless flawlessness is born stainless flawlessness only. There's never anything other than that that's born from the unborn. What the unborn bears is stainlessness and flawlessness, complete wisdom in all appearances. It never bears anything other than that. When we rest repeatedly, that wisdom becomes more and more obvious. The wisdom that can't be gotten at by changing things and doing things. Many of us come to India, we're looking for freedom. We want that complete mental freedom. We want that incredible wisdom of the sages that we've heard about. Well, this simple practice that runs like a chain of golden mountains throughout all of human history, this simple practice to rest repeatedly for short moments, repeated many times until it becomes automatic. This is what has given more people absolute freedom than the total of all practices put together, all other practices put together. Those who have realized the nature of their being would only be a fraction of those who have found it through imperturbable rest. Now, it's very easy. We'd all agree on that. And very straightforward. Very straightforward. We don't have to change any of our thoughts, emotions, or experiences. We don't have to adopt the thoughts, emotions, and experiences of historical figures. We don't have to do any of that. The all-encompassing expanse is so compassionate and benevolent that whatever the appearances are, they are appearances of compassion and benevolence. That's how compassionate and benevolent the all-inclusive expanse is. When we rest repeatedly as all of our own appearances, no matter what they may be, and no matter what we've described them to be in the past, when we just rest without allowing ourselves to be distracted with all the stories, the epics, the monumental tomes of personal identityhood, we just rest and allow all that to naturally settle out. Wisdom becomes more and more obvious. Very easy, very straightforward. Nothing needs to change, nothing whatsoever. Just rest and the ease of being in all situations without distraction by appearances, without seeking anything in appearances. Last night I was having a conversation with someone who's lived here a long time, first as a hermit and now in a ashram as a swami, and the person was lamenting the changes in the area. He said, when I came here so long ago, it was just a small place, and it was filled with sages or seekers, and everyone who was here was either a sage or a seeker. And he said, the holy Ganga, this is such a special place in the world. Wouldn't you agree that the holy Ganga is such a special place? And now everything has changed, and all these people that come here, they don't care about seeking at all. They are just here to have a good time. And he said, don't you see it this way, that this is such a special place? And I just said, every place is so special. It's so special. Every place, no matter where it is so awesomely beautiful. And no matter what appears, it will vanish. The law of impermanence applies to everything. Everything will change. everything will vanish naturally. And what hasn't appeared, it will appear. So all of these things that were going on here at one time, they've all vanished. And there are other things appearing now. And so, today, where do spiritual seekers gather? Where is this holy river today? It's the internet. That's where spiritual seekers are gathering now, right? The holy river of the internet. What an expression, what a manifestation. Talking about cities and powers, what a manifestation is the internet. Something that we have manifested out of wisdom that connects all human beings everywhere, with no need to have any kind of intervention from governments or anything. Phones, we can pick up, we can call anyone anywhere. Today you can go to remote parts of Tibet and the monks are there on their cell phones, or anywhere else, Africa. People have no food to eat and they have their cell phones. So, we have this web of communication that has come about that is such a marvelous manifestation. And this is our holy river that we're all gathered around, the sages and the seekers too. Very important. So we don't need to get stuck anywhere. Stainless flawlessness, forever wisdom, has never gotten stuck anywhere. It doesn't stick to history, and it doesn't stick to historical figures. It doesn't stick anywhere. There's nowhere for it to stick. So when we are just completely at ease with all appearances, then we don't get stuck anywhere. We don't need to get stuck in any of our belief systems, no matter how elevated we believe them to be, or no matter how many people might believe them. We relax into that which is beyond convention, beyond all these conventional descriptions of this or that, the descriptions of humankind as having something that is irrevocably flawed about it, and that is governed by different doctrines such as karma or reincarnation or original sin, or sin altogether. What does this word mean, sin or karma or reincarnation or any of it? It just means that we haven't rested, that's all. That's all it means. It doesn't really mean anything. If we just rest, then we can clearly see the meaning of all these doctrines that are thousands of years old that we've willingly adopted, but we don't really understand how they apply to us. Now, this is something I recognized in myself when I learned about original sin when I was a child. As a Catholic, I thought, well, there's something about that feels wrong. I felt physical revulsion. It was, does this apply to me? Does this mean I'm going to have to tally up all the things I do that are wrong? There has to be something better than this. And I knew that to be this tender-heartedness, this preciousness that is at the core of everything. But, I didn't really need to think about that at all. I just needed to really believe in the love that is at the essence of everything. And with that, all of my belief systems were resolved. So just resting in awareness, the spacious awareness that is the essence of everything, all belief systems are resolved. We don't have to think about them, how they've ruled us, what do they mean, how could they have done this to us, how could I have accepted things like that. We don't have to worry about any of that, just rest. And all of these things will naturally settle out. We really need to do this as a species. We really need to do this. We need to become so keenly aware of the wisdom that is at the basis of all appearances, the wisdom that is completely beyond all words or concepts. This is what we need to know about ourselves more than ever. That which unites all of us together. All these things that are talked about in spirituality, such as going beyond desire, form, and formlessness. Though that's the core. Those are considered to be the three entrances of complete liberation. Going beyond desire, form, and formlessness. Well, what does that mean? Well, desire is the desire to describe everything as this or that, to accept or reject, right or wrong, good or evil. That's the core of desire. It's very simple. It's the non-recognition of everything that appears as an appearance of wisdom. That's all desire is. It's so simple. You don't need to know anything about desire other than that. Formlessness, form is giving everything a label and saying that that label has an independent nature. It has an independent origin. That's the world of form. And so that's all the descriptions, whether they're in the dictionary or they're colloquialisms that aren't in the dictionary. That's the world of form. When we seek something in descriptions, or we elaborate descriptions of descriptions, then we're lost in the world of form. And what about formlessness, going beyond formlessness? Well, formlessness is when we've gone beyond the form and the desire, and then we're just left in no self, no thought, non-conceptual state, some kind of emptiness state we get into. But that too has to go beyond, because that's also not complete freedom. It's just a state. All it is a state. It's a boring state, really. It might be fun for a while, but it's not the potent benefit of wisdom that is at the vibrating core of everything. It's just a state. So these three are considered the entrances to complete liberation, to go beyond form, to go beyond desire, to go beyond formlessness. And beyond formlessness is sublime wisdom. Sublime wisdom. Now, what is sublime wisdom actually? What does that mean? How can that affect us individually, and how can that affect us as a species? Sublime wisdom is the complete rest that is the entire basic space of every appearance. So the wide open, spacious rest that is the basic space of every appearance is sublime wisdom. That's the sublime wisdom appearing as every appearance. And we know that when we look into history, that the more sublime wisdom there is that's present in a human being, the more power that person has to give potent benefit to the world. So they have the power to give potent benefit that is completely beyond convention, whether it's the ability to feed large numbers of people who are hungry, the ability to avert war, the ability to avert disease, or raise people from the dead, or liberate people's minds, or whatever it might be. So these are the powers of the potent benefit of wisdom. And where are these powers? Are they somewhere in the past, belonging to somebody who lived a long time ago that we read a story about? Or are they in somebody we think is in a cave somewhere up in the Himalayas? Where are they? They're right here sitting in these chairs. That's where the potent benefit of wisdom is. The potent benefit to actualize power that can save humankind from itself, save humankind from being lost in desire, form, and formlessness. These three, none of them have anything to do with freedom. When we go beyond all of these and recognize that all of them are simply an appearance of the wisdom at the basis, then we tap into these dormant powers within ourselves. As long as we're describing and seeking everything that appears, trying to make it into something other than wisdom, then we can't tap into those powers. Once we just relax, then boom. Everything starts to be the way we've always wanted it to be. First, we notice that we're more relaxed within ourselves. Just that. What could be better than that? Now there's a power worth having. All of our life we've been completely lost in this dizzying maelstrom of thoughts, emotions, and experiences, and we suddenly begin to enjoy ease of being, even if it isn't all the time. We have it some of the time in the beginning. That's the first appearance of power. Power means complete mastery over all phenomena. So the power is that in enjoying ease, we begin to see that we have power over all these thoughts and emotions, all these belief systems and ideas that we thought we were at the whim of, no matter what they are. So that's our first taste of power. So this power business isn't some kind of weird, esoteric, mysterious thing that almost nobody can tap into. It's the reality of everything. If we just look at the natural order of everything, it's absolutely obvious that this power is present. Everything comes from this power and returns to this power, and the coming and going are the power too. No matter what it is described, it's an appearance of this wisdom. And when we just allow the ease of our being to be as it is, we become more and more familiar with that. First in the form of self-benefit, and then in the form of benefit for the whole. Would anyone like to ask a question or make a comment? One of the things that is very interesting about the internet in terms of the three entrances that I talked about, form, formlessness, and desire, is that all of these points of view, no matter what they are so beautifully displayed in the entirely open space of the internet. Desire, form, and formlessness. The body of the internet that holds all of this information is entirely formless. But even that body of the internet, that too is an appearance within the absolute wisdom of everything. And it is an appearance of the absolute wisdom of everything. But we've become so skilled as a human species, able to manifest incredible things out of nowhere, out of pure space, that we've developed an entirely bodiless, formless way of communicating with each other. Isn't that incredible? That is entirely made up. It's made up of zeros and ones, bits and bytes. That's all it's made up of. No matter what you see on any page on the internet, it all came out of that. And where did that come out of? Pure space. Everything is comprised of space. Everything, no matter what it is. We're comprised of space. The internet is comprised of space. And at warp speed, we're showing ourselves this with our own manifestations. Isn't that amazing? 15 years ago, we couldn't have conceived of a world like this. We absolutely couldn't have. It wouldn't have been imaginable that everyone in the world could talk to each other, that all these people who didn't have telephones and would never have copper landlines, the copper infrastructure of traditional telephones, all of a sudden, out of the blue, satellite, cellular communication, electronic communication on the internet. Amazing. So where are we taking ourselves? You see, when where we're taking ourselves is informed by the clear light of wisdom, through the ease of being at the basis, then we can guide this influence in a tremendous way for benefit, rather than just pell-mell, helter-skelter information. So if we're looking for our sages, well, who are they, you know? We always want to talk about the ancient sages and read books about them and this, that, and the other thing. And that way we marginalize ourselves out of the picture. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't take responsibility for what we really are. But the sages are sitting here in these chairs. And you know, what sages look like today might not be what sages looked like 2,000 years ago. How about the sages putting together the internet? Now that is really something. I've been using the internet for 35 years, and from the moment I saw it back when it was called ARPANET, it was like, wow, this is what I want to know about. I want to be involved with this. You know, this is a way everyone could really get to know each other. So when we just rest, you see all our boundaries of needing to make everything into something understandable. It just doesn't need to be that way anymore. We don't need to get stuck anywhere. What we are is so easy. It's not complicated, it's not complex, and it's definitely not stuck in or controlled by any historical forms or institutions. Definitely not. Those are just simply one expression of something, you know. When we really look at some of these realities that we've been able to prove to ourselves so definitively today as a species, for example, that really everything is comprised of space. Well, when we see that everything is comprised of space and we point to that, then everything, once we say everything is comprised of this pure space, then everything that we examine, we realize is comprised of that space, whether we call it consciousness, awareness, enlightenment, freedom, liberation, bondage. It's all comprised of that space. And rather than being so certain that awareness is located only in here and that it's generated by this form that is within the boundaries of life and death, we automatically relax all those ideas about everything. We don't really need to know where awareness is or pin it down. We don't really need to call it anything. Maybe all of our life we called it God or Brahman or Dharmakaya or the Great Spirit or the Mother or whatever it is. But we start to see that everything, no matter what it is an appearance of wisdom. It doesn't need to be called anything. It doesn't need to be stuck anywhere. It doesn't need to be made into something definitive and knowable. The forever stainless, flawless knower is unknowable. So we don't really need to call it anything. Now, when we really begin to rest with these ultimate truths, we can start to see that everyone already is free. Everyone already is free of all appearances. We start to see that very clearly, but we don't even need to think about it in order to understand it. Just enjoy the ease of being, and it becomes directly and decisively understandable. We start to see that there's never been any kind of ruling hierarchy within these matters. You know, like some people who have it and others who don't, due to one thing or another. We start to see that everything, no matter what it is timelessly free. Completely timelessly free. All appearances. There aren't any special appearances that have a special ruling quality. You see, once we have special appearances that have a special ruling quality, like I am realized, I have realized wisdom. Once there is that appearance, then there's the appearance of you haven't realized wisdom. These go together. So it becomes kind of funny, really, because we can see how these institutions developed. But we don't have to make them right or make them wrong. We just rest and be totally at ease. We see how it all came about, and it just is the way it is. But what we really want to know is how this applies to us and our own freedom. So in the complete ease of our own being, we find our own freedom and nowhere else. There is no wisdom, power, of benefit anywhere else. If there were, where would it come from once it is realized? Do you see what I'm saying? Where would it be coming from? Where is it? Just where in the non-dual expanse is it located in this special place that we have to do all this work to go and get it?
I've been participating in this teaching for about 4 years and offering it for about 3. And when I came to the teaching, I was seeking, and I had been seeking through many different avenues, conventional and non-conventional. And I was always seeking to feel better, and I was seeking to be good. And I also, what you had shared at the beginning of satsang today, just described my life perfectly, so beautifully. From the time I was little, I felt this love, this just warm love, and I saw that in everyone and everything. And it was so easy, and it was so beautiful. And then as I got older, I seemed to experience less of that from people and from myself. But I always wanted that. And then I would see the news and I would read the paper, and I would really be very dismayed at what I was seeing and the suffering that I knew that people were experiencing. And I wanted to do something about that. And I really, at the same time, I didn't realize that I was totally responsible for this in myself. And I didn't really want to take responsibility, frankly. Part of what I was seeking was somebody else to do it. And when I found the Great Freedom Teaching, and when I first walked in the door of the Great Freedom Teaching, I had an immediate and very profound direct experience of my own being. And it was a felt sense that pervaded everything. And I never knew anything like that existed. And I didn't know that that was the essence of absolutely everyone and everything. But as I was, I couldn't deny it anymore because I felt it. So I committed to that. And in committing to that, it was easy because here was my teacher who exemplified that in everything, every moment, every interaction with me or whoever it was. So I could see that it was so. And I was assured that if that was so for one, that it was so for everyone. And so no matter what points of view came up, to just rest with those points of view. It's okay. One of the things that that she used to say to me was like, points of view, they're just like little kittens, no matter what it is. Some seemingly huge, ferocious beast or some little insignificant thing. It's just like little kittens. And what do you do with kittens? You say, hello, little kitten, and there it is, and then it's gone. And I had felt so overwhelmed by points of view, like fear, nervousness. People who come up here a lot talk about feeling so nervous. Well, that was a huge point of view for me. Sometimes that point of view still comes up. And fear of this, fear of that, and anger, and all kinds of things. But because I committed to the true nature of my being, I committed to following instructions. Okay, I'll just rest. I'll just rest as this, whatever it is. And sure enough, it comes and it goes. And it's no problem. It's no big deal. And part of this commitment for me has been, one of the points of view that I came with was the fear of commitment and not wanting to commit and not knowing what that meant. And what I was told is commitment equals freedom. And I have to say that I was a real do-it-yourselfer. I was going to do this on my own, whatever it was, and really prove that I could do it. To whom, I don't know. For what, who knows? And realize, that's been one of the most incredible things, is really realizing there is nothing to prove. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing to attain. The whole thing of proving for me really was motivated by the fear of, if I don't prove that I'm this or that, I'll be annihilated. Well, since I was never born and can never die, well, that sort of takes care of that point. But the commitment, in the Great Freedom Teaching, we talk about the four comforts. The four comforts are really the core of the Great Freedom Teaching, and that is resting as awareness, natural rest, the teacher, the teaching, and the community. And the commitment to the four comforts has served me completely, and continues to do so on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. And what I saw in my teacher is the total commitment to the well-being of all beings. That's it. This simple one-pointedness. And coming from where I came from, I could easily go off on one tangent or another. So one-pointedness wasn't something I really had familiarity with. But I saw it, and I saw that one-pointedness focused in exactly what I wanted, the well-being of everyone and everything. I have a daughter. She was 4 at the time. She's almost 8 now. And I so wanted a world of well-being for her. And just to know that I'm responsible. I'm responsible because I can be. Because I can be. And it's not that it's just up to me. I have this incredible support and refuge of resting naturally, the teacher, the teaching, and the community. And the community is growing. It's a growing worldwide community of peoples and then the bodiless body of humankind through the internet, through telecommunications. It's just so incredible. So, practically speaking, I had the most beautiful conversation with my mother 2 days ago. My mother is 77, and I had put her through all kinds of things with blame and, you know, I'm this way because of you and no contact. I won't be in any contact with you because of all these things you've done to me. And, you know, when I came to this teaching, I was really through natural rest and the teaching in the community, I really could see that how I was seeing her, how I was seeing things really wasn't an accurate picture. And I, through natural rest, was able to just completely let go of all these ideas that I had about her and who she is and me and who I am. And I adore my mother. And my mother came to visit me a few years ago. I had been participating in the teaching, I think, for not quite a year. And she came to visit, and she came to a satsang. And she said, Candace asked what brought her there, and she said, well, I just had to come and see what this thing was that gave my daughter back to me. And since then, my sisters have come, and my mother then came out to visit this summer, and she participated in a 21-day teaching. She came for a day, and she loved the teaching, and she extended her trip so she could stay a week. She wasn't able to stay longer. But in this conversation that we had, she wanted to know when there's another retreat that she can come to and when we're coming home. And it's so easy. It's so easy to love. It's so easy to love. And it's so much easier than, you know, all the knots, the seeming knots that I was tied up in or thought I was, but really never was. So it's such a delight to see everyone here and see this room filling up and growing and rooms all over the world, because we really are this natural ease and love, and it's such a wonder. And God, to see what we're capable of as humankind when we all come together as this, I just can't wait. You know, it's so remarkable already. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us here today.